This stuff here in Yerushalmi Shekalim in the article of edition with Daf Chav Beis Amud Aleph. The second line down, Rabbi Abo Asi Tveria, and in the Vilna Yerushalmi, that is at the top of Yud Gimel Amud Beis. In the Vilna Bavli Yerushalmi, that is towards the bottom of Ches Amud Beis. The Tveria is 8 lines in the bottom. And today's Yerushalmi appears again almost verbatim in Shabbos, Shabbos, yesterday, beginning of the 8th parak. The beginning of it also appears at the beginning of the 10th parak in Psachim, but then we get to towards the bottom of Amud Aleph, it drops off in Psachim, but it continues in Shabbos as it is here in Shekalim. So you can find it there and find it here. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Asi Tveria, Rabbi came to Tveria, Chamuni Tamudi Rabbi Yochanan, the Tamudi Rabbi Yochanan saw him, his face is illuminated. Amuhu Kumei Rabbi Yochanan, he said Rabbi Yochanan, Ashkach Rabbi Sima, Rabbi must have found a treasure because his face was shining. Asked Lagabe, so Rabbi Yochanan knew the score. He came to Rabbi and said, My Raisa Chata Shamas, what new Torah did you hear? So it must be that's why your face is illuminated. So he said, no. It wasn't a rice or chadita. I made Tosefta Atika. I heard an old Tosefta. As Takanai Chadin says, Atika Yeshana Be'ena Mitsuya. The old one which is obscure. And that in of itself, the Samach Lekam Motze Hon Rav. He rejoiced upon it as if he found a great treasure. Kiksiv, as it says, Kol Chafatzim Lo Yoshu Ba Paskim Mishlei. All your objects are not worth the value of even an obscure piece of old Torah. That in of itself is reason to rejoice. Karl lay, so Rabbi Yochanan said concerning Rabbi Abo, Chachmas Adam Torah Parav, the sagacity with the knowledge of a person will illuminate his face. Amr Chaim said, look at the Raisa, the look of Torah, which is the 4 Revi'is. Revi'is according to Reb Chaim is 3.3 ounces, so a lug would be 4 times 3.3 ounces, which is I think 13.2 ounces, right? 3.1 times says, and according to Chazish holds, a lug is 4.1 ounces, so it would be 4.1 times 4, which was about 16.4 ounces. So the this luga the raisa is Tumnusa Atika Dumuraisa de Tzipori. It's the ancient 8th measure, which they used to measure the fish brine in Tzipori. Amr Abiyah said, "Chachamna lei." I know it. I'm going with the Gilsa in which we have in the both in the Oz V'Hadar edition and in the Bavli Yerushalmi. The base Rabbi Yanai, because in the house of Rabbi Yanai, they would use it to measure honey. Tani, we learned Chatzi Shminis Tivarianis Hayashana. It's a half of the ancient measure of Tiveria. And this is Amr Abiyah said the Hadadi Danhava. This was our measure as well. V'lamaka Atika. So why did they call it the ancient measure? If it was still current, the name is Abiyah. It doesn't necessarily make so much sense. So the way the Girsa is in Shabbos, and somebody must bring it down here, but I think no, I don't see, but anyway, the Girsa in Shabbos is V'lama Lo Karile Atika. Why do Rabbi Yochanan call it ancient, which is a much more black question. So it would be based on the Girsa in Shabbos. Why do Rabbi Yochanan call it Tika? You can have Rabbi Yochanan. It was an ancient measure, but it's still current in his day. So therefore, he didn't call it the ancient measure. There's some flux over time, and again, depending on the Girsa here, there's Chaim Ada has his Girsa, the other Girsos in the various different places this appears. But East Army, some say the Hava Zeira, it was a smaller measure, for Rabbos, and it got greater. East Army does Ira, it got smaller again, below Azir is Komoda Havas. It didn't become as small as it once was before. There's a different Girsa and Shabbos. The Girsa is East Army that was for Rabbos, and then you have the word Aziris again. So which would be Rabbi Yochanan saying. Rabbi Yochanan saying, well, we have the same measure in our days. It was the ancient measure, then it became changed, but it changed back again. These times, some say the Azir of the law is just coming to have, some say it didn't go back completely the way it was. But so I guess those are people who did call it still the Atika as opposed to Rabbi Yochanan, because they didn't go back to this the same, precisely the same way it was previously. So not just Malchus B'Mtzir, so at different times it was slightly different. Could be either way, but in any event, it is helpful to throw in that word over there. These times have a Aziras, V'Rabbos, V'Azhiras. And then the summary, the Azir of the law is coming to have his got small, but not the same size it originally was. I give the volume of a cup in different measure, in cubic fingers. Kamak Shir Shakos, what's the Shir Shakos? Rabbi Yossi Shem Yehuda Bavazi and Rabbi Yossi Bar Bibim B'Shem Shmuel said, Etzba'ayim al Etzba'ayim arum Etzbo Mechzo Shlish Etzba. It is 2 fingers by 2 fingers by the height. It's 2 fingers with 2 fingers length on the height of etzba and a half and a third, which is an etzba and 5/6, I believe. Not good at figuring these things off the cuff. Yeah, 1.5/6. So 2 by 2 by 1.5/6. Okay, Thailand, Yovish Kazais, the shear of the shear of revius of wine, which this 2 by 2 by 1.5/6, which is 7 1/3 cubic, it's most according to Arts Goes Cheshbon. If when that amount of liquid wine dries up, it makes a solid of the size of a kazais. Arts Goes has some questions because it's a different. In the Bavli, it's different. The Bavli, it's 2.2 by 2.7, which is 10.8 cubic etzbos. Okay, I wonder if you could square away somehow the difference between 7 1/3 cubic etzbos and 10.8 cubic etzbos as being the difference between the Chaim and the Chazon Ish, but probably not. Okay, Rabban the Kesarin. The Rabbi Shmuel said, "Asa the Rabbi Nasan, Rabbi Shimon." Rabbi Nasan said, "It's like Rabbi Shimon." Come on, Rabbi Shimon Mar Riva. Just Rabbi Shimon said by Riva that evidently he said also this idea that there's parallel here. So it sounds like he only just, Rabbi Shimon said the shear is a kazayas. And Rabbi Nassan is the one who said, Kamar Rabbi Shimon Mar B'Reviyah, Kenan Mar Rabbi Nassan B'Reviyah, Shikosh Rebbe Kazayas. And Rabbi Nassan saying also Reviyah, and happens to add on this idea that the Reviyah in liquid, when you solidify it, it becomes a kazayas. Okay, but the way the Moshe puts it is that the shear, it's going to Rabbi Shimon in the sense that all the mashke in the shear is revius. Although I'm not sure that we have to say that that's the shot, because I mean certainly do we have that back on I think we have Rabbi Yehuda before. Okay, I'm not sure what else to say that. Reb Chaim goes to the gears of the Gra and the Takin Charatin, but change the gears here. They say Asa Rabbi Shimon, it's Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is brought down in the Bavli, and I find Zayin and Ralph that he holds by similar thing by blood. Dam Nevela. Dam Nevela, the shear is Matami is a revius because when it solidifies, it becomes the size of a kazayas, and a kazayas in the Nevela is Matami. So again, he changed it to Asher Rabbi Nosson Shimon to Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. Asher Rabbi Nosson Rabbi Yossi Yehuda. Kamad Rabbi Yossi Yehuda Meravia by Tumentar Nevelos. So too came Rabbi Nosson by wine, but Revius Kikrash V'Yebo Kazayas. Rabbi Sima, which goes along with the next Gemara, very nicely. Rabbi Sima Shem Rabbi Shimon Levi said, "Ma'aser Preda, Piras Rebbe is a ma'aser with Rebbe's mules. Remember, Rebbe's mules. I think it's Gemara Chulin, where Rabbi Pinchas Ben didn't want to eat in Rabbi Yehuda Hanosi's house because he had these white mules and they are very dangerous animals. So Ma'aser Preda, Piras Rebbe Shemesa B'Tiros Dom Mishum Nevela. The Matar is the blood of cousin Nevela because of it was not Rabbius. Shita has to be Rabbius, which will be able to solidify into Zayis, and then there was not enough blood present in order to make up that shear. The Gemara says, "Show Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Simon." Rabbi Elazar asked Rabbi Simon, "What was the story there? How much blood was there that could still say it was Torah?" The Lashka he didn't answer him. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. And then he asked Rabbi Shimon Levi for Omar Lay, and he said to him, "Ad Revius Tor, up to Revius is Tor, yes, making Tome again because it would be able to become a kazayis when it dries." So here the gears is a little bit messed up. I think it's a little clear in Shabbos, and obviously, unfortunately, we do change the gears. So here, it says you, but Rabbi Lezer, and the Girsa in Shabbos, and here changed by the almost unfortunate is instead of but, which means to kick, uvash. It was Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer was upset. Well, unfortunate change here. Ad. It's here. It says ad. Again, it should be different gear, so it should be I think al. Yeah. Like Carmenata says, uvash Rebbe al the low. Just fixing this to go along here. Like more al the low Saleh Rabbi Simon Shmaitz. Rabbi Simon didn't answer him. The Rabbi Rabbi Yossi Masodin Uvna. Rabbi was sitting and saying over the story. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Bisna. Rabbi Yitzchak Bisna said to him, "Arvi is Torah, Yossi Mikan Tomei." Up to Rabbi is Torah, and more than Rabbi is Tomei. Right? More it's Rabbi is up to, I guess Rabbi is or more is Tomei. Uvarbe. And here we do have the Girsa, and he kicked him. So everybody learns, actually he asked as a question, otherwise why is he kicking him? So I'm like, question mark, Uvape, he kicked him. So I'm like, begin to show like a boy because they ask you a question, you kick him? What kind of response is that? So he says, I saw that in the offer Yerushalmi, he wants to say they didn't actually kick him. He brings out from the Mishnah in Midos. They shlo yivabo kloma shlo yita. Avocha sarme olav kloma shlo yishbiyabo. Okay, I guess he kicked away. Not he kicked him. He kicked himself away. Okay, I'm not sure. But anyway, everybody learns that he kicked him. So and Rabbi Zika said, "Why did you kick him?" I'm like, "Begin lava daiti be." But no, I was discombobulated. I was not calm. I was not in my right state of mind. The Amar Bichan, like Bichan says, "But you chayach pluyim l'chami neged." Your life will dangle in front of you. Zesh lokech chitim l'shana. That's somebody who buys wheat, even for the entire year, but yeah, because he has to buy wheat in order to eat. B'chat alayla v'yam, you're going to be afraid day and night. Zeh lokech min hasdiki. That's somebody who buys from his grain from the from a retailer. Right? But he's buying grain, but he's still afraid. And lo tamid chayecha, that's the worst. You won't believe in your life. Zesh lo kevin a pauta. Somebody has to constantly buy bread from a baker. He doesn't have a stockpile of wheat. He doesn't have even wheat to buy in small amounts. He has to buy constantly bread from the baker. I can't. I'm too distracted because I couldn't respond to them properly, and that's why I kicked him or whatever else he might have done. Like the Offer Yerushalmi suggests, kicked away, himself away, whatever. So Umal Kedun. What's the halacha? Hey, Rabbi Yeshua ben Besorah down the veil is Torah. He said down the veil is Torah altogether, right? Which is so. How could this be? I mean, it's an avela. So it says Gemara, Mal Torah. What does it mean? It's Torah. The time in a hechsher. It's not machshir something a kabel tuma. It's like the Karmei says Mao. The Torah should Torah Achshir so it doesn't make the Sukkah Kabatuma She'em Achshir Dam Hashos is B'Shchas Shchita. Only blood which spills cascades out of the animal time of Shchita is what's Machshir Kabatuma. Aval Tame, but in order to be Matame, that Mother Rabbi Yeshua ben Besorah should Dam Nevelas Tame as an Nevela. Okay. Tamatim looked over there. Dam Hasheretz Kibsara. The blood of a sheretz of one of the rodents of the Torah is like its flesh, metame, which means it's metame because it's like the flesh of the rodent, but it's not considered to be a liquid. Bein machshir. It doesn't make it. It's not machshir to the kabatuma. The problem is it says it sounds like it's unique, and dam nevel will not be the same. It sounds like dam nevel is not metame altogether. So the Gemara says no, that's not really the pshat. And here also we have to change the gear a bit. Gemara in Shabbos says so in other words, it says first it says and then it says what do you mean it's the same thing. It's not machshir, it's metame. So it says Gemara, no, the shir tumaso, the shir b'tztuma, because the shir b'tuma of sheretz is adasha. It's not the same shir of kazayis as the nevela. So instead of shir tumaso shadam atan kibsaro, it says there in according to the Gis of the Ridbaz actually there. These Gis is broke down here. The Gis of the Ridbaz in Shabbos says kashir tumaso. Shadama Matame Kibsaro. Okay. Which actually is more similar to here, Shadama Matame Kibsaro. Okay, I think that's the end of the parallel sugya. Because the next machlokas does not seem. No, it does make that way. It's similar. Only different names. Okay. Amar Beis said, "Please, but Shamaroin." That seems to be too Tanoim. It doesn't say. It's not about that name, but it says. It says Amar Yosef, and then it says Charamar Tamei v'Charamar Tohar. One says Tamei and one says Tohar. In terms of Dam Nevela, it's a machlekes. Ma'adamar Tomei, it's Rabbi Yehuda. The one that says Tomei is like Rabbi Yehuda. That also is there in Shabbos. Ma'adamar Tomei, Rabbi Yeshua ben Besorah. There in Shabbos it says Rabbi Yeshua ben Besorah. Okay. Amar B'lei Avduma de Minachaisa. Shabbos says Avduma Nichaisa. I guess he went down from Eretz to Bavel. The Yos. It's appropriate to say that there's this distinction. Rabbi Yehuda Reinen the Nasi Hava. Rabbi Yehuda was the posek in the house of the Nasi, and therefore he's the one who said that if the blood of the mule in the house of Rebbe had been more than Revius, it would have been Tameh, because that's his Shita, and not like the Yerushalmi Shekalim Torah. Okay, and this is the end of the sugya on Chav Gimel Amud Aleph. Stop here.